Good morning. Good to see you, Karen. It's funny. Good to see you, Alice, and everyone who's here. It's funny. It feels like it's been a long time since I've taught this class, but it's only been a week. Time is strange, isn't it? And it is getting darker, even here in California, by the week. Last week, I could still start without lights, I believe, and this week that wasn't possible. So it's interesting to see the light shift. I was out working. I live on 5 acres, and I was out working yesterday, splitting wood, and I live on a north-facing slope, and the sun doesn't get to the point where it's like high in the sky right now. So I feel these seasonal shifts. So I don't know about all of you, but this comes with a desire to hibernate for me. So early morning classes get a little more challenging, especially if they're preceded by my own practice. So let's settle into a comfortable seat, and we can settle into the breath. But I do want to say before we start our pranayama practice that today we are headed towards shoulder stand. This will be the last of our kind of inversion focuses. And you don't have to get to the point of shoulder stand by any means. We're going to do it one step at a time. I would like you, if you have them, to have blankets available today, like, your yoga blankets or some thick blankets. If you see my stack back there, it's a stack of 3 blankets folded into eighths. And this would be the traditional way to do it in the forms of yoga I grew up with, Iyengar or Anasura, where you take a blanket in half. In elementary school teaching, we used to call this fold hamburger style, which is sort of sad, versus hot dog style. And then you would fold it again into your quarters, and then you would fold it again. And in a lot of studios, this was considered the storage blanket fold. It's also a good fold if you want to do a shoulder stand, because for most of us, if you turn the blankets long ways, depending on if you're really wide in the shoulders or not, then you can have the folded edge towards your head, and you can still, for me, my torso fits on this length, and I can even draw in a block. Now on this length, which is the way I learned it, if you're pushing yourself right up into shoulder stand, it doesn't matter. But for a lot of us, we want to stay in a bridge pose. So depending on the length of your torso, you may also be able to put a block here under your sacrum. And you may be able to lift the block higher if you want your pelvis higher. So one of the benefits of shoulder stand is that your pelvis is above your heart, is above your head. And this is really good for your thyroid glands, for your pineal and pituitary glands, for your endocrine system. It's also good if you have varicose veins. It's also good to release lymph and blood out of your legs and really kind of nourish the upper body with blood. In Iyengar practice, this is considered the mother of poses in Light on Yoga. I've also heard him call it the queen of poses. And it comes with many, many health benefits. And so I just wanted to show you a couple books that have really helped me in my life. One is, of course, Light on Yoga. This is one of the oldest texts for teachers who brought things to America, brought the practice to America. A lot can be said about it, but what I do like is that there's a traditional view from a kind of classical yoga perspective on the yamas and niyamas and an introduction to philosophy. And, it is from a kind of male perspective and a classical perspective. there are appendices that tell you different pose sequences you can do for different health ailments, which I also really like, and full descriptions of the poses. And if you're into the Sanskrit translations, those are in there as well. And then this is a newer book, and Martin Kirk was one of my original yoga teacher trainers. It's called Hatha Yoga Illustrated, and it's just that. It's the poses with modifications. And in this side column, what I like is really easy reference to the drishti, the physical benefits, the mental benefits, and the contraindications. Okay? So if you're a yoga student who loves just kind of having different reference books, both of these I think are really good. So I just wanted to share that with you this morning. And if you don't have blankets, then what we really want to be careful of in coming into shoulder stand is the neck. So some people will use a firm bolster and blocks, but really having some folded blankets, I see Alice folding hers, is pretty important. So if you can give yourself a gift of having your blankets available, then that's great. So those of you who may not have 3, and sometimes I do use 4 to keep my cervical spine open. I have an extra cervical vertebrae and a long neck. You could fold them again, right, into the bolster folds that Sarah Joy often uses. You could fold it again, and then you would have a stack of 4 blankets for a long neck. Now, if your neck is hanging, your head is hanging in space, then you're too high. So you might have 1 blanket low and then another folded. But for some of us then, if you need the support under your elbows, you could put 2 blocks in, like this. And then you have the arm support. Do you see what I'm saying? To have your arms in this position. And this will make more sense as we go. Okay? So I just really want you to be careful with your necks in this position. And you don't really want a lot of pressure on your neck because your cervical spine is really thin and most vulnerable. If you have osteoporosis or pinya, you want to just go into one of the mild versions that I'm going to show as we work our way up. But I think if you don't put any pressure on that cervical spine and you have your pressure on your shoulder girdle and your head is relaxed, just like a little waterfall off your blanket, then your neck shouldn't have compression. That's what we want to avoid, is compression on the vertebrae and discs. Okay? All right. So that's my little spiel before class. And even if you don't get into the full shoulder stand today, the lead up to shoulder stand has so many benefits. We're going to be working on opening the back and front body and really becoming aware of the back, strengthening the back and the back of the arms. We'll be aware of the curves of the spine and the length of the spine and creating space in the spine. And then you're going to get some benefits of an inversion, okay? I do also want you to be aware that there are contraindications. If you've had a neck injury, if you have osteoporosis, like I said, for some people, inverting during menstruation isn't healthy, doesn't feel good, especially at the beginning of menstruation. And then in this Hatha Yoga Illustrated, they recommend not doing shoulder stand the first trimester of pregnancy, or if you have high blood pressure. Okay, so you may not go all the way up into the pose in those cases. And then one other thing is, if you have like a sinus infection right now and you're really congested, going upside down probably won't feel so good. Okay, so you can stick with the upright versions, or you can stick with the bridge version of the pose. All right, let's settle into our breath. Feel the seat beneath you and how you make contact with the seat and with the ground. And make sure that you've created as even a base at your seat as you can. So for me, this often means I move the flesh of my buttocks out and back so that I can come into more contact with my sit bones. And then you may want to sway your spine front to back a little to find that tension up the front of the spine that helps you lengthen and align. Because many of us carry our head forward in life, this leaning back can wake up this front line, especially up into these front neck flexors. And then as we come forward, maybe we feel a little more balanced. Today, let's breathe in from the earth up to the heart and find a gentle lift to the heart. This doesn't mean we flare the ribs forward. It means we lift the sternum gently. And rooting the tailbone, breathe a lift into the rib cage. You're lifting the rib cage away from the pelvis, lengthening your lumbar spine. As we do this lengthening, we are not trying to flatten the curves of the spine. We're honoring them. We're just stretching them out a little. So the spine curves into the body at the lumbar towards the navel from the back. And then it curves out towards the back through the rib cage, the thoracic spine. And then it curves back in towards the front of the body at the neck. We find a gentle lift at the base of the skull in the back. And this helps us to lengthen that natural curve of the cervical spine. We can find this also from finding a lift behind the ears. So imagine you're lengthening your neck and you're lifting your head from behind your ears. This may let your chin come a little closer to your sternum. In Pilates, we say nod your nose towards your mouth because that's a smaller action for most people than chin towards sternum, which can flatten the cervical spine. And then today, imagine the hot air balloon lifting you from the center of your palate and helping you with that lengthening of the spine. And as you're lifted, let your sit bones be heavy so that the spine is stretched. And breathe space between each of the vertebrae, plumping the discs that allow for the compression of each step we take, that allow for a gentle bounce in the spring of the spine. Relax your jaw, your eyes back in their sockets. See if even as you lengthen the waistline and the spine of the rib cage, if you can relax the shoulders away from the skull so the cervical spine of the neck can lengthen. Now breathe into the front of your spine. Breathe length and strength up along the front of the spine and really feel into the front of the spine. Get to know it. Look for places where you may habitually compress. Relax too much. Or feel tight from a past injury. Or from a habitual way of standing. And just gently lengthen skyward. It's not a gripping, forced action. Think of it as the action of growth, a rooting of the pelvis and legs, so that the spine can grow skyward like a sunflower. Now feel into your left spine. and really deep interior to the body. Inhale, length up the left spine, from the pelvis up along each vertebrae. Try to feel it really interior in your body, all the way up through the left side of the neck into the skull. Look for places where you may collapse and see if you can wake them up and lengthen them a little skyward, rooting the pelvis to rise through the spine. Smooth and even breath. Now bring your attention to the back of the spine and really feel your way up from the tailbone over the sacrum, up the lumbar spine, the thoracic spine of the rib cage, the cervical spine, up into the skull. If you feel tight muscles at the base of the skull, they may be reaching into the spine, sitting inside the skull. Let the hot air balloon lift you, the pelvis root you, the spring of the spine stretch. Don't force or overgrip. Try to find that place where you can gently lengthen. But you're active. It is work, but it's not 100% of forced effort. And then we come to the right side of the spine and we feel deep into the body. So we're not lengthening from outer hip to armpit. We're lengthening right along the spine, the right side of the spine, all the way up into the skull. Shoulders relaxing away from the skull. Rib cage lifting away from the pelvis. Now notice if you're efforting so much that you're kind of holding the breath or breathing really shallowly. See if you can inhale along the column of the spine on all sides. And exhale, relax the outer body over the strength of the spine. From your roots at the pelvis, inhale up along the whole spine and through the Sushumna channel at the front of the spine. The breath spinning through each chakra, relaxing the outer body over this river of energy, over this channel for the nervous system. And begin to invite a three-dimensional breath to open away from the spine into the front, sides, and back body. Still breathing length up the spine. Can you breathe yourself open three-dimensionally, relaxing the outer body on the exhales? Keeping a gentle and active growing length to the spine, even on the exhales. Inhaling up the length of the spine like you're massaging the spine skyward. Relaxing the outer body over this strong channel of energy. Fluid breath, honoring the spine, honoring the Sushumna channel, the largest river of energy in the body. Now imagine all the nerve plexes aligned each with a chakra. The chakra spinning energy into smaller streams and rivulets that carry energy throughout the physical body and the energy body. Carry this energy into the mind, into the heart, and into your wisdom body. It is this flowing energy that connects us with each other through our roots, through our eyes and hearts and hands. Can we honor these passageways of energy and have an intention today to get to know the spine and the back body better? To practice concentration, dharana, move into a mindful meditation practice, dhyana, so that we know ourselves better, so that we are more awake. Let's inhale our hands to our hearts. Namaste. Okay, let's come to standing. And let's begin like we usually do, the gentle shaking of the hands. Really let your arms hang long. Let the fingers go. I love this idea from Qigong that we can open the doorways of the joints so the energy can flow through. I know that I probably sound like a broken record, those of you who have lived long enough to know what a record is. I said that once in a middle school classroom about, 10 years ago, and someone asked me, what's a record? It was before they were kind of retro. Oh goodness. Let go at the wrist and the elbow. Let these joints open because they are a big part of our practice today. And then let the humerus bone bounce gently away from the shoulder girdle. Let the knees bounce. And let the doorway, the shoulder girdle, open. And now as you bounce on your feet, rooted to the ground, feel the spring to your spine. You can still be gently lengthening upward, but allow a spaciousness, a springiness to the spine. A release of the shoulders so there can be a lengthening to the neck. And then let your arms bounce out to the side a little and back down. Perhaps they come by the right hip and twist around to the left and twist back to the right. Gentle bouncing, releasing of hypertonic muscles. We bounce the arms up. And rooting the feet. We reach the hands skyward, spreading the fingers, really stretching the hands open, palms up, and then make fists and stretch and fists and stretch and fists, inviting the whole myofascial network to open for the practice. Rooting the feet, we reach to grow taller, and then fist and taller, and then fist and one more. And then let the arms open into a cactus position and exhale the pinky fingers towards one another, palms facing you. In the cat curl, take a few breaths into the thoracic spine of the rib cage. Invite vertebrae to open away from vertebrae and let your pelvis hang. And then inhale, open, palms out, lift the heart, root the tailbone. Lift the rib ring away from the pelvis so you're not compressing too much in the lumbar spine. And then exhale, pinkies towards each other. Take a deep inhale into the back body. And on the exhale, move, lift the sternum, spread the elbows away from each other, stretch the front chest. And we exhale the movement and inhale deep into the body, inviting the spine to open. We exhale, exhales, breathing into the spine's length on the inhales, both directions. And then come back to your neutral. Allow your hands to come down, palms up by your hips. A fluid breath. Palms up. Invite the hands to come back by the hips, the heart to lift. Tailbone grounds. You're in a back bend of the upper spine. And then let the upper spine roll over and the backs of the hands come around and together. And inhale, the heart lifts like an ocean wave rising. Exhale, let the wave fold over. And let your body just move in this undulation. Let the spine move like water. Invite fluidity, openness, flow. The ocean wave rises on the inhale and folds on the exhale. Feet grounded to the earth. Let the water in your body move. Just like the water of the rivers and the oceans, still hugged by gravity to our wonderful planet. Fluid motion. See how water-like you can become. Because we want flexible and open spine for our asanas. And then come back upright and reach for your yoga strap. And take your yoga strap as wide as your hips. Palms facing back. Okay, so I'm trying to show you here. And before we do any stretching with the strap, let your head of your arm bones curl forward around your heart. And I'm kind of over accentuating it, right? We don't want the head of the arm bones forward. Now take them way back. Likewise, we don't want to be puffing the chest out with the head of the arm bones way back and the shoulder blades cracking a walnut. Instead, let your arms come to that middle place where your shoulder feels just right. It's not curling forward. Now we may have tightness in the forward chest, so we may have to stretch a little to get the head of the arm bones aligned. Try to let them hang down the humerus bone from an open shoulder girdle. And then slowly begin to take your hands back behind you. Stay open and broad across the shoulder girdle. Tailbone rooting, heart lifting. Just come to the point where you can stretch across the front chest. Broad in the shoulder girdle. You're not dropping the shoulders towards the floor and shortening the waistline or shortening the rib cage. Inhale through the pelvic floor. Lengthen the spine up through the fontanelle at the top of the head. Tailbone rooting, head rising. Let the highway bone rest back. Some of you may stay here. This may be a wonderful place for you to work. Some may like to bend the knees and fold forward, torso parallel to the floor, finding a little more lift in the arms. Neck long, back of the neck long. Some of you may pause here. Some may lower the belly onto the femur bones, lift the sit bones, and let the hands rise towards the sky and come overhead in an uttanasana. Stop where it's best in your body. Please honor your body with compassion and kindness. Fluid breath. This is the beginning of a morning practice, so don't go too far. Let yourself warm up. And then bring your hands back toward your sacrum and unhinge the body. And pause again in standing. And let's bring the strap up around the head and neck before we go to the wall. Okay, bring your elbows to the inside of your strap and bring the strap up under the base of the skull. Now, if this is hard for you with the strap or you don't have one, just interlace your fingers and bring your thumbs to the base of the skull. Lift the base of the skull skyward, look down towards the earth. Rest your head back on the strap and lengthen the back of the neck. Really let the back of the neck lengthen, stretching those suboccipital muscles. It should feel good. But those muscles can be really tight and really stiff, so let yourself be here. From your pelvis, root down into your feet. Let your roots sink deep into the earth. And then from the pelvic floor, find a lift and a lengthening up the spine to the highway bone and into the skull. Find a lift at the base of the skull. And then bring your eyes parallel to the floor so that your gaze is parallel. And then if you'd like to, straighten the arms. Try not to flare your ribs forward or throw your pelvis forward. Lifting the base of the skull, root your tailbone. Lift your rib cage away from the rooting pelvis. Lift your skull away from relaxing shoulders. So even though your hands are lifting, let your shoulders be broad, resting away from the head. You can stay here, or rooting the tailbone, you can roll the thoracic spine open, lifting the heart and the gaze, keeping the back of the neck long, coming into a standing back bend. Let the strap really still traction the head. We're not rolling the head over the strap. And then exhale, release, and let go of your strap. And pause in your mountain pose. And breathe into any awareness that you feel in the neck, the shoulders, the back, the arms. And inhale, float your arms like snow angel wings up overhead. Stretch the palms skyward as you root the feet and stretch the hands and fist and stretch and fist and stretch and fist. Stretch and allow your wings to come back down. Okay, so now I'd like you to come to a wall or a door, and if you don't have either, I guess you can just feel into the description I'm going to give you. So I want you to stand in Tadasana, but with your arms in the position we usually do bridge pose in, so your humerus bone is going to be back against the wall. Okay? So gently press the arm bones back at the elbow and at the head of the arm bone. So we're not popping one area forward. We're letting the whole of the humerus bone rest against the wall. Ground through your feet, ground through your tailbone. Keep your natural lumbar curve, your natural thoracic curve, your natural cervical curve. Broad across the shoulder girdle. The arms press back. And notice how this wakes up your back body. Try not to lock your knees back in hyperextension, but keep them femur bone lined up over the tibia bone. Try not to jut your chin or look up towards the sky. Keep your gaze horizontal. For most of us, this is work because we have longer and weaker muscles in the back. Shorter muscles in the front chest that pull the arm bones forward and the thoracic spine forward. So we're waking up some muscles in the back of the arms and the back body while we stretch the front chest open. Now don't do this at 100% of grippy effort. Try to come into an effort back with the humerus bones that you can sustain, keeping the shoulder girdle broad. Feel into the shoulder blades on your back. Tailbone rooting, heels rooting. Fontanelle, that soft spot at the top of your head lifting. Open the crown chakra and invite sky into the body. Invite space between the vertebrae, a plumpness to your discs. And release and step away from the wall, let your arms hang. And breathe three-dimensionally into the body. The breath moving out from the spine in all directions. Exhaling, lengthen the spine while you relax the outer body. Okay, now we're going to come into that same arm position. Remember, you want your shoulder not forward or back, but right in the middle. And bring one arm against the wall, standing again in your Tadasana. And press the one arm on the wall into the wall. Again, the humerus bone presses in. You don't have to bring the back of the hand to the wall just because of the musculature in the arm. But the elbow, the length of the humerus bone presses into the wall. Now feel how active the opposite leg is, the leg that's more towards the center of the room. And feel from the shoulder blade of the arm pressing into the wall across to the buttock of the opposite leg. This is a myofascial sling that goes from your shoulder across the back body, down from the buttock towards the heel. Feel into this energy. Now try to feel the shoulder on the opposite side and connect it to the buttock closest to the wall and create an X across your back that's strong and alive. Let your hyoid bone rest in and up. Remember, it's horseshoe shaped, and the prongs of the horseshoe are lifting up towards the back of the skull. The curve of the horseshoe is more down towards earth. And release. And pause. Notice how you might be getting broader across your chest and ribcage and back body. And then let's take the other side. Arm bone in nice alignment, head resting back. Press the arm into the wall. Feel how the opposite foot grounds. Connect the pressing shoulder to the opposite leg, buttock to the foot. Waking up to the inner workings of the body. It's really quite beautiful. Follow the line of energy deep into the earth. Don't work so hard that you can't breathe. We don't have to be at 100% of effort to wake the body up. In fact, we'll probably become more awake to the body if we're not working at 100% of effort. So soften. Keep working, but don't work so hard. Breathe length into the spine, but let it be subtle. And release. And roll your shoulders up, down, and back. And pause again in your mountain pose. Bring your hands up, thumbs to the base of the skull, fingers interlaced. Rest your head back into your hands. Wrap your elbows around the front. Lift the base of the skull. Rest the head back, root your tailbone. Release the shoulders away from the lifting skull. Make sure you're not locking your knees or throwing your pelvis. We're just working to rest the head back. The hyoid bone in the neck crease rests deep. The neck crease smiles slightly. And release. And come one more time. Back to the wall, arms in your bridge pose. Broaden the shoulders and press the whole of the humerus bone back, grounding the tailbone, lengthening the spine. Fluid breath. Can you be earth? Feel dense, somewhat heavy, and can you also be water and sky and the fire of the work in the space between the stars? Can you contain all of this? And release. Okay, let's come down to the floor. Those of you who want one pillow, you can bring that in. And you'll have your blankets nearby, your blocks nearby, and your strap nearby. And lay down on your back in constructed rest, heels aligned with sit bones, knees towards the sky. And go ahead and bring your strap underneath your lumbar curve. Or rest your shoulder girdle broad. And gently nod, tailbone towards earth, tailbone towards sky. Feeling into flattening the lumbar curve as your tailbone reaches towards the sky. And accentuating your lumbar curve as the tailbone reaches towards earth. Gentle nodding. Come into your neutral lumbar curve. Now, notice if your gaze is perpendicular to the floor. If your gaze is towards your eyebrows and up overhead, you do need to lengthen the back of your neck, and some of you may need a little pillow. I use a pillow. I have an extra cervical vertebrae, and I just want a nice length to my neck. Bring your hands up to your neck and feel it. We want a natural cervical curve away from the floor. We want to honor that curve right now. And then float one shin up to tabletop. And then float the foot back to the floor light as a feather. Keeping the knee close to a right angle, we float the shin parallel to the floor. And the foot back to the floor. We exhale the rise of the leg, and we inhale the release of the leg. Exhale the rise, inhale the release. Exhale the rise, and as you release this time, just land 75% of the foot's weight. And then exhale the next leg up, and inhale, land 75% of the weight. Notice your core turning on. Can your shoulders stay broad? Your head of your humerus bone relax back. This is what I want you to concentrate on most today. Now maybe you just land 50% of the weight, only if your shoulders can stay broad. Each foot comes down and just lands 50% of its weight. Feel your core turn on, but stay broad in your shoulders. And then float one leg up to tabletop. Activate your square between your ribs and your hip pointers and float the other leg up to follow. Bring your hands to the front of your femurs, fingers up, and press your palms into your femur bones. And draw your femur bones towards your chest. Start at 10% of effort. Work up to 20 and 30, keeping the shoulders broad and open. Keeping the low rib ring grounding back, the front ribs don't flare. Drawing energy through the navel and up along the spine. Pressing a little bit harder, activating a little bit more, but only going to the point where you can still consider lengthening your spine. You can still allow the shoulders to rest broad. So we're not gripping forward. We're keeping the spine in neutral. And we're working the core, the abdominal core, in a way that we can sustain. And then draw the knees towards your chest. Circle them wide apart and back together. Now just getting the femur bones to stir in the hip sockets. Take your circles the other way. And then keep the right knee towards the chest and lengthen the left leg out. Bring the outer hand to the ankle and the inner hand to the inner knee. So left hand is on the knee. Nod your nose towards your mouth, lengthening the back of the neck, and almost lift the head from your hairline. This will turn on your front neck flexors. Your head does not even have to clear the floor. In fact, leave 50% of the weight of your head on the floor, but feel how your front neck flexors activate. And then switch legs and switch legs. Can you keep that almost lift from the hairline? Now, if you have a neck injury, or if you have osteoporosis, then this is the best place for you to work because you can strengthen those front neck flexors without any compression in the cervical spine. Lengthening the spine, you can lift through the top of the head. Those of you who want to lift off the floor and lengthen. Okay, so different places for different bodies. Honor your own body. And then hug both knees in. Reach hands and feet for the sky Zip up the inner thighs, take the ankles away from the wrists, circle the arms, keep the heels together, but hug the knees in towards the armpits. Take your feet and hands out to your point of control, away from each other, where you can ground your low rib ring. We're waking up the core to support the spine in our shoulder stand poses. We reach, circle and hug, reach, circle the arms and hug the knees in. One more. And then pause back in your tabletop. Let your arms come into your bridge pose position. Press the whole humerus bone back into the floor, shoulders broad, and toe dip, one toe towards the floor. Exhale the leg back up, shin parallel, and then inhale the other leg down. We aren't moving fast. This isn't our cardio workout. This is awareness building and strength building in the body. Broaden across your back. Broaden across your shoulder girdle and press the humerus bone evenly back as you toe dip. Keep your neutral lumbar curve, and if your lumbar is pretty flat, then you may want your pelvis up on a folded blanket. Okay? So that you're not pressing the lumbar spine into the floor. And then come back up and float one foot gently to the floor and the other. Keep the humerus bones pressing back and broad, waking up the back body. Now, press the pillow out if you have one, and bring your hands down to the strap under your lumbar spine. Turn your palms up this time, holding the strap to either side of your hips, and lift your pelvis, coming into your bridge. Palms up, reach the strap down the mat towards your heels. And if you'd like, lift one arm gently, roll it under, lift the other, roll it under, but also stay broad across the shoulder girdle. You don't have to roll super tight and in. Hands skyward, press the whole of the arm back into the floor. Keep your natural curve to your cervical spine. So we're beginning to build the back strength and awareness. And some of you may want to come back to these poses when we move into shoulder stands. So try to remember this one. This is a great back and back of the arm strengthener. Feel your triceps working here. Breathe into the lift of the heart. Keep your gaze perpendicular to the floor. Reach your tailbone long. Can you still breathe sky into the body and space between the vertebrae even here? Can you lengthen the spine in this shape? Arms actively back. And then a release. Rest your arms, rest your shoulders broad, nod your head no, release the neck. Nod your head yes. And roll yourselves over to come into a side plank. So we woke up the front of the core. Let's wake up the side of the spine as well. So your yoga strap can go away. Some of you may want to roll your mat double under your elbow. I like doing that. And you can come into a kind of clamshell leg position to lift just the side body. You could leave the pelvis on the floor. Try that. Just find that lift at the side body. That would be the first step. Feel even the strength around your outer shoulder blade. You can reach down and feel your side body active. You can stay there or lift the hips. Take a few breaths here, broad across your shoulder girdle. Make sure you're not jutting your head forward. Let the head rest back. Long line to the spine. You can stay here or lengthen your legs out on the mat. Step the top leg over, foot perpendicular, and come up into a supported low plank. You can stay here or you can stack your feet. You can stay here or turn the palm towards the top of the head and reach the arm long. Reaching out to the soles of the feet and each finger and thumb of the long arm. Fluid, three-dimensional breath away from your strong spine. Building bone density in the lower arm, building strength along the side spine. Feel into it. Wake up to it. And then release the pelvis down and switch sides. Curling the blanket the yoga mat in if you'd like, under your elbow. Remember the elbows right under the shoulder or a little towards the head, not tucked towards the hip. We may just lift the side body. We may lift the pelvis. We may straighten the legs and step one foot over. We may stack the feet. Do the plank that's best for you today. And then if you'd like, turn the top palm towards the top of the head and stretch palm towards earth through each finger. Broaden now across your shoulder girdle and lengthen the neck out. Make sure the head isn't jutting forward. Three-dimensional breath, strengthening the lower side of the spine. Feel into it. You may notice sensations that are pleasant and unpleasant and neutral all. And release. Okay, let's take 2 blankets and from our storage fold, fold one more time into the bolster fold. Or if you have a bolster, you can use the bolster under you, but today I'm going to use the blankets because I know this is what Sarah Joy normally does. And if you have 3 blankets and you want a little more support today, you can bring a 3rd blanket in. That's more like the height of my bolster. Okay, so I'm just giving you options. Bring one block into the head of the mat. And lay your torso along your blankets so that your low ribs are supported on the blankets, but the rest of your chest can rest over the top of the blanket. Rest your forehead on the block. Palms facing the block, come onto your forearms strongly. Remember, elbows beneath shoulders. For a moment, just roll your forehead across the block. Releasing any tension in your eyebrows, your 3rd eye. These social muscles of the face that wrinkle our forehead as we lift our eyebrows in surprise or curiosity. Let any tension go that draws the eyebrows together in that kind of worry look, worry feeling. And then pressing the forearms and the feet into the floor. Imagine helium balloons under your pelvis, navel, and low ribs and float your torso up off your blankets or bolster. Pressing down into the arms, even lift the neck, lengthening the back of the neck. Let the hyoid bone rest in and up. Prongs still up towards the base of the skull. Fluid breath. Tailbone towards the heels, and release. Take your elbows a little farther forward, and then draw them isometrically back on the mat so your heart lifts in a Sphinx pose. Lengthen your tailbone still for the heels. Find a lift under the pelvis and along the spine. You can stay with that action, or you can bring your hands under your shoulders, fingers forward, each finger pad active to help you lift the center palm. And imagine those balloons again under pelvis, navel, and low ribs, and press up into your chaturanga. You may lift off your props, you may not. Don't let your chin jut forward and your gaze look forward. Keep the gaze at the floor, long back of neck, long spine, honor its curves. And then release back onto your bolster. Release the toes and isometrically draw the hands back and float up into your cobra, lifting Uddiyana Bandha up the front of the spine, all the way through to the hyoid bone and out the top of the head. Fluid, three-dimensional breath. We did those front abdominal strengtheners, which tend to strengthen our hip flexors. Now we're stretching out the psoas. And we exhale slowly back down. Hands coming to the sides of your hips, palms down, thumbs out, broad across your shoulder girdle, shoulder blades on the back. Inhale, float the heart, the hyoid bone, the head up. Float the feet behind you. Lengthen out the arms from your broad shoulder girdle. Salambhasana. Feel into the strength of your back body. And you can stay here. If it hurts your low back, you can lower your feet. If you want more, you can take your hands out as wings to the side. Keep the head of the arm bone lifting in towards the sky. You can stay here or bring your arms up alongside your ears, palm facing palm. Feel into the strength and work of your back body. Relax the shoulders away from the ears, broad. And bring your hands back to the floor and roll back up into a tabletop, removing your bolster. And inhale, a gentle cow and a gentle cow. Fluid breath. You can then walk your hands forward and come forward, everybody, onto your knees in a knee plank, lifting your feet off the floor, so my feet are up. Long spine out through the top of the head. Let the hyoid bone rest in, keep the neck long as well. Look down at your hands and activate each finger pad, and try to find that lift of the palm. I'm just working this because every time we do arm balances, I want you to become more conscious of that arch of your palm. Now, if you'd like to, let your feet come down and roll up into a full plank. We don't want to collapse the carpal tunnel, so each finger pad is active so that we activate that center palm, which helps us activate the little archway of the carpal tunnel. Tailbone towards heels, top of the head long, breathe sky between the vertebrae. Feel in again to the whole circumference of your spine. Getting to know it. And then release your knees to the floor. And we will set ourselves up for the beginnings of our shoulder stand. So each step of the way, there are health benefits, okay? So don't feel like you have to get your legs up today. So the folds of your blanket are going to be facing away from you. And you can stack 1, 2, 3, or 4 blankets depending on the length of your neck. You want your head on the floor, but you want your neck to be long and spacious. So then move the blankets far enough away from the head of your mat that you can wrap the mat over the top of your blankets so that you have a sticky mat. Okay, like this. And that'll just help your shoulders purchase. Now you want your shoulders about 1 inch in from the edge of your blankets. And you may want your blocks to either side. And you'll roll yourself back. And then hold your head and feel for shoulders about 1 inch away from the edge. And let your head rest over the blanket pile. Now it really depends on the length of your neck, how many blankets you're using. Right now I'm using 3. Okay, some people, but remember I have an extra vertebrae. Some people may use 2. I then like bringing my block in at the end of the blankets. Now remember, if this feels like, okay, this isn't working, I can't get my block in the right position, you could bring your blankets the long way, which is actually better in my body. And so you would turn the other folds of the blanket and bring your mat over. Okay, so that's a little longer torso-wise. And then you would come to leg down so that your head floats over. Your neck is not on the blankets. Your neck is a waterfall up over the blankets, head towards the floor. Now see, now my whole sacrum is supported, my whole torso is supported on the blanket pile. Bring your palms up to face each other across the body. And press the humerus bones back, opening across your shoulder girdle and rib cage. The neck should be really comfortable. If you're watching me, I can nod my head no. There's no pressure on my cervical spine. The pressure's on the back of the shoulder girdle and my humerus bones and my sacrum. Fluid breath. Right here, we've put the head beneath the heart. This is really healthy for our endocrine system. Take a few three-dimensional breaths here, pressing the head of your arm bones and the elbows evenly back, broad across the shoulder girdle, tailbone reaching long, but honoring your natural curves. We're definitely accentuating the cervical curve right now. Fluid breath. Now you could stay right here, you could relax your hands here. This is a healthy kind of restorative pose. Or you can reach for a block or two and bring it in under your sacrum so that now your pelvis is higher than your heart, is higher than your head. We're washing the thalamus, the thyroid, the pineal, and the pituitary glands with the blood that most often gets circulated more easily down body. If you feel your neck right now, you'll feel probably some of these blood vessels filling. You can bring your hands up and massage the neck, massage the jaw. You can stay here in this bridge position, really healthy for the body, a nurturing position if you need rest, or you can draw one leg in towards the chest and then the other and lift your feet towards the sky. You could rest your knees gently in towards the chest with a gentle bend, especially if you have tight hamstrings. Your palms can still face each other across the body if you want to work on back strength. And you broaden across the shoulder girdle and press the humerus bones evenly back. This is a good stretch to the front chest and strengthening of the back body. Remember, it does not have to be at 100% of effort, it could be at 20. And still you'd be awakening to this back body, inviting it to be lively and vital, and request nutrients for itself. You could stay here, or you could open your legs wide in an Upta Vista Konasana, a Supta Upta. I'm just straddling, Carol. Yeah, just letting my legs go wide apart from each other. There you go. Fluid breath. And you could bring the feet back together. You could pulse them out and in a little bit, waking up your adductors, but still keep the arms gently pressing back, broad across your shoulder girdle, neck relaxed, face relaxed. You could stay with that, or you could open one leg overhead, one leg down the mat, and switch in a scissor, stretching your hamstrings, opening the hips. You could turn this right into a bicycle ride. So healthy for our legs to be above our heads. blood and lymph. Gentle movement may help with that release. And you could ride the bicycle backwards. Still gentle pressure into the humerus bones, broad across the back body. And then bring the legs up to rest overhead again. Fluid breath. And then you can stay here. If this is the pose you want to remain in, stay there. If you'd like to go a little farther, step down and release yourself from the block. Use your hands to support the lift of your head as you roll over. And then we are going to bring this blanket pile, if it feels like it was the right height for you, towards a wall. Okay, so the where your head went is away from the wall. You may want to bring your block in with you again. Now this takes a little while to figure out where exactly do I want to set up, because you need a spot for your pelvis, and you may want your block. Okay, you're going to use the wall to help yourself press up into a fuller shoulder stand. So then what I like to do is just lay down on my side next to the blanket pile so that my shoulder is about 1 inch from the edge. And then supporting my head, I can roll up and walk my head so that it's resting on the floor. I still have a little distance from the edge of the blanket. Now, part of the reason we give ourselves the inch is because when we press up, we often press ourselves towards the head, and we can press ourselves right off the blanket pile. My feet are now on the wall, and I can lift and put the block, if I want to, right under my pelvis, and I could just stop here, but now I have the wall to rest my feet on. So it becomes a restorative shoulder stand. I don't have to work to keep the legs up. Those of you who want to go farther then, activate your arms. Really find the humerus bone into the blanket pile. The head, water falling off the edge. Make sure your neck is taking no pressure. And then you can press up with your pelvis. Draw the arms in underneath you and walk your hands up your back. And I actually like walking up on my skin, not on my clothes, because I can get better purchase that way. You could keep one leg on the wall and lift the other foot skyward and still have the support of the wall and get a lot of benefits of this upright inversion where your foot is directly up over your heart. Some of you will bring both feet off, lengthening the feet towards the sky. Check in with your neck that you don't have too much pressure there. If your arms are slipping away, elbows away from each other, you can also add a strap around your upper arm, your humerus bone, to hold the arms in place. Wherever you are is okay, and if you've tried the shoulder stand and it doesn't feel good, go back to one of the other versions. Fluid breath. Most of us need to bring the navel forward towards the center of the room and the heels back as we work on our shoulder stand. I'm going to come and take a look at those of you I can see. Okay, beautiful. Beautiful, Alice, really active in the arms and upper back, I can see. Okay, nice. Now, those of you who have your sacrum on a block, let your upper body relax a little for a moment. Let your hands maybe rest on your belly or to your sides. Let that shoulder girdle just rest open. Fluid breath. enjoying the benefits of the blood and lymph leaving the legs, the blood easily flowing to the thalamus, the thyroid, the pineal, and the pituitary glands. Fluid breath. All the while aware of your neck, the length of your spine in whatever position it's in, inviting sky in, space between the vertebrae. And then as you're ready, you can slowly step one foot back to the floor and then the other. Yeah, if some of you want to come through plow pose, that's fine too. Fluid breath. Let yourself rest down for a moment. Let your circulatory system readjust. And then roll yourselves up. Move the blankets out of your way and just lay down for a moment in a traditional shavasana. Let your spine lengthen on the mat. Bring your hands up around your neck and massage the neck. Massage the shoulders. You can massage fingers right into those muscles right on the edge of the spine and the back. Massage all the way up to the occiput, the base of the skull. And massage out along the base of the skull to the edges of the neck. And up under the ear, you may feel some tender points as you come in towards the jaw. Massage onto the jaw. And then up underneath the jawbone. Pressing up underneath the tongue, you may feel your salivary glands activate. Bringing your fingers back to the jaw, really massage. If you find tight muscles, let yourself work there for a while, relaxing the jaw. Remembering that all these muscles interweave with each other, so if some are super tight, it affects the whole fabric of the body. Then bring your middle fingers up between your eyebrows and massage the third eye area between your eyebrows. And then taking your thumb and index finger on each side of your eyebrows, gently pinch the center, the edges of the eyebrows, and out towards the outer corners of your eyes. Just pinching and pinching along the eyebrows. Pinch and release, pinch and release. And by pinch, I don't mean hurt, I mean just gentle massaging pressure. And then bring your middle fingers back to the third eye, massage. Massage down onto that arch of your nose beneath your eyebrows. And then off to the edges of your nose, along your sinus cheekbone. Press your thumbs up onto the inner cheekbone from below. And then walk your thumbs out the edges of the cheekbone, back to the jaw. Come back to the inner cheekbone and wash out to the jaw a few times. Feeling for any spots where you want to pause and massage. And then let your arms rest to your sides for a moment in a traditional Shavasana. Feel into the curves of your spine. And if you need to bring a bolster in under your knees because of your low back, then please do. Shoulder girdle broad, arms relaxed. Take a deep three-dimensional inhale down into the pelvis. Relaxing the pelvic floor, relaxing the muscles in the bowl of the pelvis, relaxing the belly. Deep breaths. Again and again, relaxing the pelvic floor, the muscles in the bowl of the pelvis, the iliacus muscles. Begin to relax along the lumbar spine. Really feel where pelvis meets spine. Inviting deep breaths into these deep muscles. You're moving into the psoas as you relax the lumbar. Imagine relaxing from your inner thighs through your pelvis to your lumbar spine. This is one of our biggest fight, flight, freeze muscles. The psoas grips when we're afraid, grips when we go through trauma. It can then tighten and hold emotional tension for a lifetime. Breathe deep into the pelvis and invite that energy, if you're ready, to release. To open even incrementally, little by little. Feel the hug of gravity. And if you're ready, invite your body to relax at this deep central core. And if you're not, hold yourself with compassion. Just contemplate the idea of that release. Possibility. As you release up along the spine, come up towards the navel. Feel the vertebrae deep in the body. See if you can invite a spaciousness there. When we're overactive in the psoas, sometimes one side becomes more active than the other, pulling us askew. Breathe balance into your pelvis. Balance into the sides of your spine. Remember the river, the Sushumna that runs along the front of the spine. Breathe into that river. Visualize the chakras spinning along the whole channel of the spine. Let the river of energy move the chakras. Relaxing root chakra, second chakra, third chakra, and even the heart. open to the flow of energy. Relaxing the rib cage and the thoracic spine, relaxing the heart and the lungs. And relaxing up into the neck and throat. We rise into the upper chakras. Relaxing the third eye. Relaxing the crown of the head. Inviting the river of energy to flow. To bring vital energy into the whole of the body. Down the arms and the legs to the hands and the feet. Imagine yourself resting on the forest floor and unraveling back into the soil. See if the body can open and rest. See if the body and the nervous system can settle. And then gently bring energy back into your fingers and toes. Into your hands and feet. And stretch in whatever way feels good to you. And then walk your feet in. And perhaps nod your pelvis a few times. Feeling into that fluid length of spine. And then as you're ready, gently roll yourselves over and come up to a comfortable seat. Let your pelvis root again, and your spine rise towards the sky. Be aware of your physical body and your energy body. Your mind, your heart, and your intuitive body. Let's inhale our hands to our hearts. May our practices help us to build our consciousness. Help us to awaken. Namaste. Thank you. So I apologize. I, for some reason, thought this class was going till 8:30, and then I remembered, oh, it's supposed to be 8:15. Whoops. So you got a little extra. I feel bad for the people who had to leave early, but anyway. Thank you for being here. And if you have any thoughts, comments, feelings you want to share,